I'm just going to record for us. We may or may not post it depending on if people want to share different family traditions and whatnot. So of course, with your permission, we will post, but if there's anything confidential, we will make sure to cut that out. So good afternoon. Welcome to our virtual Friendsgiving. So before I spoil any surprises, I already had some recipes, but I collected probably about 15 more from the group. So I'll be sharing those, and I made a little cookbook, so it'll be a digital cookbook. There's lots of great things in there. So there's some entrees, there's some different stuffings, there's some breakfast options, there's some sweets, there's some sides, some appetizers. So I know typically when we think Friendsgiving, we think Thanksgiving, but my mind kind of is already at Christmas. So there's a whole mixture in there, so you can use it all season long. Some other information that I collected from some folks were some different games. And one lady shared that they recently played a game in their youth group in which they got a pair of the obviously new, and she specified that in her message, cheap pantyhose. And what you do is you get a bag of balloons and you blow up the balloons, as many as you can, and you start shoving them down the legs of the pantyhose. And the idea is that you want to get as many balloons in the pantyhose as you can, and then your team leader puts the pantyhose that are full of balloons on their head, and it makes it look like antlers. And the team with the most balloons in the antlers in the pantyhose wins. So she said that was a super fun game for their youth group. And I maybe misunderstood, but maybe they played against some other families or a different Bible study group, but it was definitely at the church where they had split up into teams. So a fun, very active, probably super competitive activity for everyone to play too. Some other things that I noticed while I was collecting the recipes is that many of the recipes came with notes that said, "This was my mother's," or "My family expects this each holiday season," because of traditions that have been passed down. So I also find that to be something that I think we all treasure. And in our family specifically, there's always certain tins that have certain things in them. And so you can identify where the thumbprint cookies are just by the tin that they're sitting in. And when it came to the time in which we were having to divide up different items, some of those were the most sought after. Like, I need grandma's cookie tin because I know what's supposed to be in there. Obviously, no one can make grandma's cookies like she could, but I tried to share as much of that in the recipe book as possible with your different notes that you all added, or if someone shared a recipe and they supplied who it came from, like their mother or whatever, I tried to share that also, just for fun. So I did pre-record a short little segment of me making some no-bake cookies. So I am going to share that now, and then hopefully we will have you guys be able to come off mute. We don't have to see you. We would love to see you, but we don't have to. And then you can share with us some of your family traditions and other games that you all might enjoy. So let me get this video up. I'm going to turn my camera off and my audio off. Okay, I gotta make sure I'm sharing my audio. Share computer sound. Greetings. Happy Friendsgiving. Happy holidays. Happy everything. Who's ready to get cooking? So, as any good cook or chef, even though we're not cooking anything because they're no-bake monster cookie balls for today, we got to get our apron on. And we got to make sure our hair's out of the way, a real issue for someone like me. And we will get started. So we're going to make some no-bake monster cookie energy balls. So the ingredients that you need for this are some quick oats, 3 cups, some peanut butter. I choose Peter Pan honey roasted creamy, but it does need to be smooth peanut butter. We'll use a cup of that. And some honey, so we'll use a half cup of honey. And then we're going to use some M&Ms. The minis are definitely recommended for this. The other optional add-ins that are usually pretty well liked are some cranberries and some potential coconut flakes if you like coconut. And these are honestly just good by themselves. They came from Costco. They're praline pecans and they're super delicious. But if you grind them up, throw them in the Monster Energy balls, they're pretty good that way too. I've also seen some people use cranberries and pistachios for a more red and green Christmas theme, if that's something that interests you. So we have all of our ingredients and I'm going to measure them out. So the first thing that we need to get are our oats. So let me get some quick oats. Okay, sorry, had to take a break to pull my hair back, but some tricks or tips that I learned along the way when making these are one, I use the quick oats, but I put them in the Ninja blender. So let me go ahead and count out 3 cups. I put them in my blender cup, my Ninja blender cup, and then I go blend those so that they're very fine and not so chunky. Especially I learned when we're trying to get kids to eat things, if they see something that looks moderately healthy, they're probably not interested. But if the oats are so fine that they don't even know they're in there, then we're in good shape. Okay, so 3 cups of oats. I'm going to go blend these real quick and I will be right back. Okay, so I was able to blend the oats. It does look like there's less because it is like more of a, I wonder if you can, it's more of like a fine powder now. I'm going to pour it into this so you can see it better. Well, you still can't see it very well. Anyways, it's just like a very fine powder. It honestly looks like pancake mix or something like that. So no evidence that this might be a good substitute for a cookie. So the kids would still probably be interested. So another trick that I learned along the way is if you're going to use, I'm going to use, it says you can use a hand mixer or mix by hand, but I guess I'm just kind of lazy because I'm going to use the KitchenAid and I'm going to let her do all the work. But since we're using peanut butter and honey, both very sticky, I spray them down first. I also will spray down the cup that I'll be using for the honey. So if you spray it first with your oil, then it should just like slide right out when it's time. So another trick. But I'm going to go ahead and add in our oats. Because I did grind them down so far, it doesn't look like I had as much of 3 cups. So if you need to add some more oats in later, then you can, but it would usually only be just about a half a cup. And the finished product will look more just like peanut butter balls. Okay, so we got our oats. Next, we will add in our peanut butter. Okay, so the 3 cups of oats are in our mixing bowl. I'm going to spray down my measuring cup. So 1 cup of peanut butter. I'm going to put my peanut butter in my cup to measure it out. Again, ooh, that's a lot. Oh, well, it's still only a cup. All right, again, smooth peanut butter for this, even though if you were to ask me what I liked on a peanut butter sandwich, I would definitely tell you the chunky stuff. But for these, we are using smooth peanut butter. I, again, am using the honey roasted. It's so good. And we're going to add honey in too, so we might as well go ahead and add the extra honey. So I did spray down my cup. It should come out relatively easy. It does. There's just a little left, but that's what spraying it down gets you. You don't have to dig it out. So we've added in our peanut butter. Now we need to add in our honey, except the only problem is my honey has been sitting there for a minute. So the other trick that we're going to use is microwaving the honey. So let me go microwave the honey and I will be right back. Okay, so we have our honey. So we're going to transfer the honey into, I forgot to spray this one. It's not coming out as easy. We're going to transfer our honey into our mixing bowl. All right. Got all that. So we have 3 cups of oats, a cup of peanut butter, a half a cup of honey, and now is where we get to add in the good stuff. So we are going to, I had to get me a paper towel, sorry. We're going to add in our M&Ms. Okay, so this is where it's like a third of a cup or a half a cup, but really it's just whatever your heart desires. So this is a half cup going in now. And just to remind you guys, the minis do work the best. Oh, the other thing I saw the other day in the store were those little chopped up Andes mints. And I thought, oh, that would probably be a really good, a good addition to some no-bake cookie balls, but I did not get those. However, you could just chop them up yourself, and you can really do that with any candy, but it kind of defeats the purpose, I guess, a little bit. All right, so now we have our oats, our peanut butter, our honey, our M&Ms, and I'm going to spray down my paddle so that it doesn't get stuck while we're mixing. I'm going to go mix, and then we'll be ready to dip them out. We dip them out. I just use a little tiny ice cream scoop. I put them on a cookie sheet, and then I put the whole cookie sheet in the freezer to let them set up. You can put them in the refrigerator. The freezer just obviously expedites the process. And then once they are set up pretty good and solid, not frozen, but good and solid, I keep them refrigerated. You don't have to, but I just do that because it makes them keep their form a little better. So I just keep them in the refrigerator. It's a good snack. Admittingly, whatever the word is, I use them for breakfast. Probably not the best breakfast, but good for a little snack. I don't know if you're like a 5K holiday family, it would probably be a good energy substitute for the morning of your race. But let me go mix this up and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, and we're back. So this is what the mixture ultimately looks like. It really does kind of just look like cookie dough. So I take my scoop. Oh, I get my parchment paper and I have put it on my cookie sheet and I made room in the freezer to put the whole cookie sheet in there. All right. So got my cookie scoop, scoop it out, roll it, ball it up. It usually comes pretty balled already out of the scoop. Kind of looks a little flat, but if we put them on here, they'll keep their shape the best if we use the freezer, and then they'll continue to keep their shape if we keep them refrigerated. So when that peanut butter starts to get room temperature is when you kind of see them like start to look a little melty. I mean, they're not melted, they're just room temperature, so they don't have as much structure. But I'm using like a pretty small cookie scoop, so this will actually probably yield, I don't know. I'll show you at the end how full my tray is, but I mean, they're pretty small. All right, so I don't want to bore you guys, but let me get all these mixed up and I'll show you what the end result looks like. So be back in a second. All right, oops, I had to turn on some Christmas jams. All right. Okay, so I got them all scooped out. They end up looking like this. It literally looks like they're about to go in the oven to bake, but we are not baking them. Also, speaking of children and trying to trick them into eating healthy things, looks, feels, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't eat one, tastes like cookie dough. So, while a little bit of a better option, still gives you the same feel, but no raw eggs or any of that stuff. So I'm going to go put these in the freezer, get them to come a little bit more firm, and I'll show you the end result. All right. Okay, we're back. And that was about an hour ago. So they have been in the refrigerator and freezer and they're ready to go. It made about 20. So those are some of the little tricks that I had learned. And Christy even mentioned that she did not realize that if you spray stuff down, it comes out easier. I wish that I could share that that was like a family secret, but I really learned it from TikTok. So, anyways, that's what I had to share with you guys. But I want to hear from y'all. What are some of your family traditions or games you like to play or um, things that you all traditionally eat? Share with us.
Well, first, I want to know how many of them you have eaten. 3. um, so I think for us, we always used to do a family reunion in Florida with my grandparents on my dad's side. And we actually had the whole weekend planned out, and the meals were always the same every year. Some people would come and go and maybe fix a different side, but for the most part, we always had the same meals. And that's probably been the biggest struggle since we're now doing those reunions up here in Alabama and the same families coming, but we're struggling to put together the same menus. So it's interesting how you try really hard to keep those traditions. But when people are no longer with us that used to fry the fish or make the ribs or whatever was going on, it changes a little bit and you develop new traditions. So I think it's important um, to cherish the old and then celebrate the new.
I agree. It makes you look forward to some of those different staples. And it actually reminded me when you mentioned that some people had submitted recipes of ways to utilize leftovers, which I'm sure is something that there was a casserole left, like you use your leftover turkey. I think it was like wild rice and turkey casserole. And then the ham sliders, which I know more common at Thanksgiving would be turkey, but it's real easy to substitute a different meat for those different sliders to utilize some leftovers and not have to keep eating the same thing, but changing it up just a little and leftover still tastes good. So there's some good recipes in the book for those items too. Anybody else want to share?
Uh, I don't have a recipe to share. Our Thanksgiving is always celebrated on Friday as opposed to Thursday. It became a tradition after our children got married. And so on Thanksgiving Day, the Thursday, they celebrate Thanksgiving with their in-laws. And so we have everybody in on Friday and have the traditional Thanksgiving meal with the turkey and mashed potatoes and the filling or stuffing and everything that goes with it. We put everything on the table and everybody gathers around waiting to eat. You know, the smell and the look just is so inviting. But before we eat and before we have grace, it's been our tradition that we go around the table and everyone has to express gratitude, give thanks for something in their life that has been important throughout the year. It may be multiple things, it may just be one, but it has become our tradition. And then after that, we have grace. We fill up ourselves, we stuff ourselves silly. And for our kids, and grandkids, it's been 2 days of it now. They had it on Thursday. Now they're having traditional Thanksgiving again on Friday. But then we move into the living room, and we do Christmas charades. Um, we have cards. Everybody pulls a card. There may be a list of 5 things on, like the first Noel or Santa Claus or whatever, and then they have to act out for everybody sitting around the room to guess. And that has brought a lot of joy and laughter into the life of our family. So that's really our Thanksgiving day. My wife and I will prepare the meal. Actually, we do the turkey a day ahead. We do it on Thursday, and just cut it all up. And we enjoy it, she and I. we, we enjoy it on Thursday, but then we have it for everybody else on Friday. And that becomes our Thanksgiving tradition that we have had over the years. But let me say one more thing before I turn myself off. Stephanie, I really appreciated the video that you put on. That was just excellent. I just thought that was terrific. Um, your cooking. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Cooking or lack thereof. You notice I had a 3 or 4 ingredient recipe that didn't require any electricity. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. That would be something great to, everyone give thanks prior to blessing the food is a great thing to add in. And the thing about family games, sometimes there's always some people like, I don't want to play. And then they're the ones that have the most fun, is what I found. So that happens in our family too, or someone introducing a new game. And if
Yeah,
maybe
they all
that's
look
not
forward to it. It is something that we've been doing it now for a number of years. And
Mhm.
so now everybody looks forward to doing that in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, and some other things that when in looking for various games, and even though it's not an intergenerational activity, but it kind of is. I mean, we're with from my perspective, my parents, and then aunts and uncles, and great aunts and uncles. So it is an intergenerational activity for all intents and purposes. And then most families, I would say that there might even be grandchildren and stuff too. So we're spreading from like newborns to, I mean, the age gap is huge. So some other things I found were I'm going to share this as well, some various questions to ask loved ones. So someone who's, I guess, probably more high school and on age, it's questions that they could potentially ask their grandparents or great aunts and uncles, or just loved ones. A lot of our Thanksgiving is friends that live close by that aren't able to travel, so just loved ones that have been around for through the years, and ask like, hey, where did this recipe come from? Hey, what did you guys do? Did y'all celebrate Thanksgiving on Thursday or Friday? And so that's easy. From I'm thinking of my lens, like I could ask those questions certainly, but then maybe there's a conversation that you want to have with a grandchild, or someone who's younger and a loved one. But of course, you're not going to say, hey, here's a list of questions, why don't you ask these to me? But you can start the conversation by just sharing, like, let me tell you of a time when, and that offers a lot of different perspective. I wish that when my grandparents were still living, that I would have asked those questions. It's not that I didn't have a relationship with them. I did. I had a great relationship with them, but there are so many like different recipes or just different traditions. Like, why do we do this? And I don't have an answer to it now. And it's best come up with whatever concoction my parents tell me is why we do this way. And so I think having that opportunity for those conversations, just really to get to know your loved ones better. And I'll be sharing that too. So um, feel free to ask, or sometimes just tell. I just, the older you get, the more you're like, hey, just listen to this.
I remember when I was a little boy, um, my great grandfather, who was a Pennsylvania Dutchman, had gone hunting. And during November, it was turkey season. And so he got a wild turkey. And I'll never forget that Thanksgiving where we were all together as a family with my grandparents and great aunts and uncles and my great grandfather. And they prepared this wild turkey. Don't do it. A fresh store-bought turkey far exceed a wild turkey, but we ate it anyway.
But what a story to tell and to share. All right. Is there anyone else on that would like to share any traditions? And meanwhile, I'm going to see if I can just pull up the cookbook just for y'all to take a look at it. Well, actually, what I had pulled up ready to go were some of the um
So some of the ways that we would celebrate as a family. We always love to take walks, and on the property that we were at, it was always fun to take the littles and let them walk. But also, we would do things that helped our grandparents out. There was some cattle that needed to be tended to. There was, overgrown bushes or trees or yard work that had kind of lapsed. And so the family would use that opportunity to work off some of those calories with doing some of those chores around the house, and but doing it all together. So it wasn't just the children, or it wasn't just the adults, but everybody pitching in and helping. And then we also had, my husband's family is from Ohio, so it's much colder there during this time of year compared to what Florida was. But they always did card games, and it was really impressive to me that Rook was their family game, and I it has taken me years to figure out that game, if I've even figured it out. But they all taught the children very young how to play different card games, and so they always had tournaments among everybody in the family. And then for those who were too small for cards, they would have certain rounds of things like memory or go fish or things like that to involve the littles, but really trying to keep the whole family involved in all the activities was fun for them to do.
You make a great point. And, as we were talking about tricking children, sometimes you can just set a timer to see how fast they can clean the kitchen, and they think it's a great game, and the kitchen's clean. Okay, so let me share the cookbook, and I think you should be able to see it, but it's really zoomed in. Okay, so I'll email this to you too, but like I mentioned, there are some snacks or some appetizers in here. It gives ingredients, steps, and then sometimes it gives who it was supplied by. You'll notice that sometimes it says like Miss Jean. So we did this with children back in my days of working with children. So I got some of their family recipes too and incorporated those in, as well as some of the people who supplied from our little group who have supplied some different sides. The sage stuffing was from a member of the group, and so was the cranberry casserole. I think Cindy sent that one. So you'll see this. It's 38 pages, but I think it's more around like 20 to 25 recipes. And then the other thing I was going to share is that document that I just talked about, getting to know your loved ones better. Of course, these are the questions, but it's really just a prompt like number 3, do you have a nickname? How did you get that nickname? But that could also be a question for a child or anyone that's maybe not even children. Maybe it's a new guest that has started joining your family, and just getting to know one another. So those were the items that I'll be sharing in the follow-up email later, and I'll be sending a couple of different games that we received as well. All right. Does anybody have anything else they would like to share?
Well, Cindy shared about she was going to learn a new game called Shanghai Rummy. I think I got that quickly. Cindy, what is Shanghai
Well,
Rummy?
it's okay. I'll go on video. I was going to be a silent partner here, but okay, here I am. And my computer's buffering pretty bad, so I hope I'm not breaking up when I speak. It's kind of, think if you've ever played Yahtzee with dice, and you have to do certain combinations each round. From what I understand, I've only played a little bit of it like one time. You have a sheet that kind of says the first hand you have to do this, and the second hand you have to do this. So each hand goes kind of quick, and you can play, I think, with up to 6 or 7 people. I don't think it's like a huge group, and it's challenging. And so it's, think of it like Yahtzee for cards. If I can upload the directions, but I can't give a lot of guidance to it because I'm still learning it. There's wild cards, and it's kind of like when somebody finally goes out, if you have cards in your hand that are not played, they count against you. So you don't want to have high point cards, that kind of thing.
I think it sounds fun. I mentioned in the chat just the challenge to learn something new. It's good for our brains.
Agreed, agreed.
Okay, well, if anybody has anything else to share, we would love to hear it. But if not, I'll follow up with the email that will include the recipe book and the questions and some games. However, there's a little bit of homework here. If you do decide to try one of the recipes, if you could please share the outcomes with us, we would love it. So I guess it's about a week away. So happy early Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your loved ones, and we will see you guys. Well, we'll see you probably before next month because we have various circles that we all run in. But we will definitely see you again next month. Until then, happy and merry everything, and thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Wonderful. Thank you.